Hello and welcome to this, the latest in the Field Service News webinar series. My name is Kris Oldland, I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Field Service News, and I'm pleased to bring you a sample of our latest webinar. Again, we've taken a selection out of what was a very interesting, very interactive Q&A session at the end. And for this session, I was joined by Tesseract's Kevin McNally. So carry on listening and you'll hear some of the great kind of insight that Kevin was able to deliver. And if you want to hear the full webinar, then all you have to do is complete the links below to subscribe. Full webinars are only available to our subscribers, but if you complete the links below, you will get a copy of the webinar, either a link to download, or you can watch it on a private link on YouTube, and that'll be sent to you instantly. The webinar focused on 5 key fundamental areas of field service management technology, what you should be expecting within your FSM systems, and we had a close look at the Tesseract systems. So thoroughly recommend subscribing and getting access to not only this webinar, but all of our other resources. But for now, let's have a little listen to the Q&A. Okay, Kevin, so we've had a few questions coming in from the audience, and I've got a couple of my own that have come in through the session. First of all, one of the questions that's come in, and this, I think it's somebody that's got their finger on the pulse here. We're seeing a lot of talk about platforms. That seems to be the buzz across. And I'll be honest, I'm here at Field Service News, we've been talking about that an awful lot as well. And you know, we've seen Microsoft, Oracle kind of investing in the market. We've seen, you know, General Electronic Digital investing in the market. Kind of big players coming back in. And there's this talk about, and it goes a bit back to the integration piece, this talk about the platform and the ease of integration. Why is best of breed, then, a better alternative to the more generic platform approach?
Well, we see a place for both, and very much dependent on the client. But in our world, we see many people that have legacy systems, whether they be financial, whether they be ERP, that just don't offer the depth of functionality required from a service team. So where we sit is integrating with those products, but we do believe that our product with 30 years of development is not something that can come into the market overnight and add value. Okay.
A point to put to you then, to just play devil's advocate here. I mean, obviously 30 years is a lot of heritage there. We were talking about future-proofing earlier, weren't we? How can smaller companies, companies that are best of breed, they're more agile, that can kind of bring these newer solutions to the surface quicker, but can you guarantee that 5, 10, 15 years down the line, you'll have the same kind of planned out roadmap as somebody like Microsoft, or as somebody that has been in the industry across a number of spheres, that has that clout?
Absolutely, and this is something we get questioned a lot on. Recently, part of the acquisition by Avatic has been to more formalise, give us proper roadmaps, take us away from the cottage industry. We're really much looking at, within Europe, the European space of service, consolidation. You're quite right, we see some of the smaller companies having to fall away, not keeping up with technology, so we need a big investment back into the R&D of the product. This is very much what Avatic's all about.
Okay. How important is it that R&D goes back? And if we're looking at companies, because obviously, you know, anybody out there, whether they're looking at their first step away from Excel and post-it notes and whiteboards, maybe even, and T-cards, or maybe there's people out there that are using previous generation legacy systems. We're going to be doing our due diligence. We're going to be looking not just at the technology, but at the companies themselves. You know, what kind of figure should we be looking at? If we say, right, how much do you invest back in R&D from your annual revenue or profits, etc.?
Well, our development team is just over a third of the company. So, and we're looking to grow that. That's from the Tesseract sphere. From the Avatic point of view, it's far larger. Okay. So we're very much about trying to get the technologies right, which we've done it historically, but we want to keep that moving forward.
And how does that work as a rule of thumb? So if you were to say compare that to, without naming any names or shaming any competitors, how does that compare? Is that kind of a generic figure? Is that kind of, right, these guys have really taken that seriously, or is this kind of, what's kind of, is there an industry benchmark that our audience should be kind of thinking, right, anything below, say, 15% is a red flag.
It's very difficult and different. But if you look at the investment put to date into any product, the technology, the platform, it takes huge investments to rewrite software into modern technologies. Tesseract was always at the forefront of bringing it to the latest technologies, and we carry on that ethos, staying ahead of the curve. It's very, very difficult to have to worry about old products that are sitting on old technologies that may be functionally rich, but at some point they're going to be mothballed, and we very much want our customers for the long term.
Okay. Let's go back to some of the questions that have come in there, because I kind of leapt on that first one and kind of packaged you with a few of my own apologies for that. But there's a great question here, essentially on return on investment, and it's a question I see an awful lot, and I think it's probably one of the most fundamental questions when building a case to take to the board. How quick can we expect to see ROI? And I'm going to put that to you in kind of two tiers here. Number one, with your engineer hat on, your service manager hat on, in essentially, and in a generic kind of application of a service management solution. And then number two, more with your Tesseract hat on, what's the kind of what's the time frame for your customers? So first of all, kind of generically, and then
it's generically, and it depends on the client, and we see many clients with different ROIs that they're looking to achieve, whether that be the scheduling piece, whether that be the stock management piece or the contract management piece. So clients are different. You certainly should be looking within the first year of going live of seeing massive improvements, but each client really has to focus on what they see as an ROI. It's very difficult for us to preach as a provider, maybe not the solution that the company's looking to save costs with.
Yeah, okay. That ties into another question we've got here around KPIs. We've looked at 5 different areas here, 4 of which obviously are affecting day-to-day operations, mission critical elements of the day-to-day's running. KPIs is a conversation that comes up an awful lot.
Absolutely.
What should lead the way? Should the KPIs, because the question is actually how can the settings be matched to the KPIs?
Yeah.
But I'm going to take that on a little bit and ask, should the technology and the solution lead what the KPIs are, or should the KPIs lead how you're utilising the solution?
Definitely the second point, Chris.
Okay.
Really, it's what does the business want from a product. Our product is a great product, but it's very much driven by how it's utilised and what results people are looking to achieve. And they should always set out looking what we want to achieve from the product, not what necessarily the product's going to give us. We'll see wins throughout an implementation on things that have been overlooked as part of the process, but very much each client should be looking for what they want from a solution. As
a vendor, how much responsibility or how much onus is there on you to advise your customers on this? Is there an element of, you're a technology provider, but is there an element of consultancy that should come into this, where you should be saying, look, okay, you know your business better than we ever will, of course. However, we work with X, Y, and Z number of companies within your sphere, or I always say even within the field service management sector, and as a broad spectrum, we always see about 70% of the shared goals and shared pain points, and then there's that 20-30% that are kind of vertically specific.
Yeah.
Do you do that, and how much should you do that, and kind of lead your customers in saying, well, actually, are you measuring mean time to repair just because everyone else is doing it, when really you should be looking at other KPIs, etc.?
Yeah, and it goes back to what the client really wants from the product, but also as part of an implementation, our consultancy's team job is to play a little bit of devil's advocate. Why are you following these processes? What are you looking to achieve? Are they historic? Or is there actually a result that you're measuring at the end? So very much it's about questioning, not necessarily copying today's process from an old product into a new product. It's very much about realigning the business and letting the business move forward for growth, and challenges that may not be apparent in that vertical of the service market, that are in others, questioning those, identifying them, let our customers become trailblazers in their own environments.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this sample edition of the webinar. I'd just like to say thank you ever so much to Kevin McNally from Tesseract for not only giving us some great insight into how the Tesseract system works, but also some good general advice on how we should be looking and interacting with our FSM system providers. I'd also like to say thank you to everybody that logged on to the live session. There were some fantastic questions that came across. We couldn't get through them all, but there were some great questions that came in, and it is those questions from you, the audience, that really make these things so special. For those of you that aren't subscribers but would like to see the full webinar, the bad news is it's subscriber only access. The good news is that as long as you're a practitioner within field service, so whether you're a field service director, manager, but basically responsible for a mobile workforce, or even if you're working in IT or a senior business leader position for an organisation that has a field service workforce, then subscription is free. All you need to do is click on the link below to apply for a subscription. Just by the very fact that you've applied for a subscription, we will send you a copy of this webinar as a thank you for taking the time to apply. Application should take no more than 30 seconds really, and as well as future webinar invites, loads more resources including white papers, a new podcast series coming up in the autumn. There's a whole ton of discounts worth about £7,000 at the moment, for different industry events across the place. So definitely worth taking 30 seconds out of your day to apply for a subscription if you are a field service practitioner. Anyway, my name is Kris Oldland, and that is the end of this sample, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.